All too commonly, when I share my faith with those that are around me, I get that phrase that comes back at me. Stop being judgmental. I promise. I'm a good person. Of course, I was never implying in any way that they never did anything good, but nevertheless, that is how it is perceived. In today's video, I'd like to take the time to share with you why Christians oftentimes come across as judgmental and what they're really trying to say. Welcome back to yet another episode of Hot Topics for Christianity. If you're here and you haven't already, please do me a huge favor and click that subscribe button for me, ring the bell, it's right next to it, so that you don't miss any of my future uploads as well. Throughout this video, if you find that you have any questions or concerns that you'd like to have a conversation with, I am live on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Typically, the link is down in the description below. Feel free to drop by and drop me a follow. As I said at the beginning of this video, most people, when I start to share my faith with them, truly do feel judged by what I say. The truth is, you are in fact being judged. But I'm not judging you to condemn you. Let me explain what I mean by using an example. If I see a homeless person on the street corner and I see that it is cold outside and they are not wearing a coat, I go to the nearest Walmart, buy them a coat, and give that to them. I've technically judged them by assuming that they were cold. I think we can all agree that that is a perfectly acceptable and decent thing to do, and therefore that judgment is totally acceptable. However, let's take the same situation and say that that homeless person is there every single week, every single day even, at the same exact street corner, and I begin to judge them and go, that person is just lazy. They could go get a job if they wanted to. I'm not going to give them a dime. There's a bit of an issue with that type of judgment. I think we could all agree on that. With that example now in front of you, I hope I've illustrated what I mean when I say that Christians are not judging you to say to you that you are somehow lesser of a person than we are. Well, okay, there are some Christians who feel that way, but a majority of Christians do not feel that you are somehow inferior to them. Because even the Christians who are judging you to condemn you have been exactly where you are currently. Maybe not exactly. Maybe they aren't in a situation exactly every single day that your life has given you. That obviously is not possible. We're all very unique in different ways. But we've all been in the exact same place in this way. We have all, myself included, been going against the things that God has for us in our lives according to the Bible. The only thing that separates a Christian from somebody who isn't a Christian is the core belief that we have been forgiven of that. We've decided to turn away from an old lifestyle and turn towards the lifestyle that Christ has for us in the Bible. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying to you right now, though. We do still make mistakes. Just because we've turned away from our old behaviors, our old past, our old self, doesn't mean that we don't still slip down that slippery slope and go right back down to our old behaviors. I actually made a video about Christians making mistakes, and some that were towards me as a Christian that really severely hurt me. And if you'd like to check that out, there's a card above. You can definitely click that and check it out. It's actually in the same series that you're watching right now. Before I became a Christian, I genuinely believed I was a fairly decent person. I didn't cheat on any of the women that I was sleeping with outside of marriage, and I figured that made it okay. When I lied, it was only a little white lie, so it didn't matter that much. But the fact of the matter is that me having sex out of marriage one time, or telling one little white lie, separated me from a loving God. Let me take a second and simplify this. I feel like I might be making this a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. What I'm talking about in this video is the first step of becoming a Christian, essentially, is acknowledging that we ourselves are sinners. It's part of the ABCs of Christianity, and many of you that have known me for any length of time will have heard me say this at least once, I'm sure. A is to admit. Admit to yourself and to God that according to the Bible, you have broken His laws. If you have told one lie, like I mentioned earlier, if you have slept with someone outside of marriage one time, even if you have, according to the Bible, looked after a guy or a gal with lust in your heart, meaning that you were thinking about what you would do, right? You've committed adultery with them in your heart already, or fornication, I guess, if you're not married, let's be clear. Sinning one time is all it takes to be separated from God. And because none of us are perfect, that's a pretty rough standard, right? So that first step is where a lot of people stay because they're like, I don't want to hear about Christianity. That first portion of it has told me I'm a horrible person. No, first of all, it didn't tell you that you were a horrible person. I want to make that clear. It's just shown you that you are a sinner, according to the Bible, just like I am. and you have separated yourself from a loving God. That was what I was talking about a moment ago. But let me share B and C with you in the same video so you don't have to be like, well, what's coming next? Here it is. B is to believe. Believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus is God, essentially, is the boiled down principle. Jesus Christ was the Son of God. He was sent to live a perfect life on this earth, becoming a perfect sacrifice for you so that he was held to that standard of perfection that I just referred to a moment ago. And he chose to willingly die a brutal death on the cross for you and for me. 3 days later, after defeating death, he rose from the grave. He spent 3 days in hell, and I would never want to do that, obviously, and I don't think you really do either, if you're being completely honest with yourself. And I think that's a wonderful thing. John 3:16 is probably one of the most quoted verses in the Bible, but it is also quoted that many times for a reason. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever would believe in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. And this is the next part that I think is very important. It ties really in with this really well with this video. As a matter of fact, John 3:17. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. So you've gotten through the A, admitting the fact that you are a sinner before God, and that's just in your heart. There's not a particular way you need to do it. There's no particular words you need to say. B is believing that Christ died for you after living a perfect and blameless life, becoming the sacrifice for your sins, bridging that gap that you created by sinning between you and God. C is the part where you spend the rest of your life committed to following Christ and his examples throughout the Bible for the rest of your life. You're going to make mistakes. I promise you. I'm speaking from experience. I make mistakes every single day. The difference is every time I realize I've made that mistake, I look at God and go, I'm so sorry. Help me to be better tomorrow. And that's as simple as that. Going forward with the rest of this series, I will be breaking down each of the 10 commandments and where they apply in today's day and age, because I think we have a tendency, including Christians, to think that the 10 commandments are something that are in the past. They aren't. They're still very relevant to a Christian life. They are also relevant outside of a Christian life. They were there as the basic moral compass, if you will, towards what is right and wrong. If you're interested in seeing those videos, make sure you click that subscribe button, ring the bell next to it so you don't miss the notification when those videos begin to go live. And I do want to mention one last time that if you have any questions about anything I shared, or if you yourself have decided to receive Christ in that ABCs thing that we just talked about, feel free to come celebrate that at twitch.tv/GameItForHope. I am live typically every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evening. The link is in the description down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave it a like to show your support, and never forget that life is difficult. You shouldn't do it alone. I'll see you guys later.